Hi folks, in this video I want to look at self-talk. So those things that you say to yourself either out loud or even in your own head. Do I talk to myself? Most of us talk to ourselves, either out loud or internally. We use it to make decisions, we use it to voice our own opinions, we ask questions, we basically talk to ourselves all the time, even if we're not always aware of it. And as an athlete, the things that you say to yourself can really influence things like your confidence and your motivation and your concentration, whether that's actually when you're performing or away from training and away from performances. Therefore, it's really important that your self-talk is functional, and by that I mean that it helps you, it aids with your concentration, or it aids with your confidence or your motivation, those different things. It doesn't inhibit them or lower them. When things are going well, self-talk's not usually an issue. You can praise yourself and give yourself a pat on the back when you do something right or you perform particularly well. You've got optimistic thoughts and beliefs about your situations, and you can really kind of focus. Typically in those sort of situations, your self-talk is going to be quite functional, even if it's just kind of thinking about how excited or telling yourself how excited you are about an upcoming competition. But when things don't go so well, that's when it can kind of start to slip off a little bit, and that's where your self-talk can start to derail you if you're not careful. So examples would be questioning your preparation or how well you're going to perform, telling yourself that you've got really strong opponents today and you don't know if you're going to actually be able to compete with them, telling yourself that other people get better opportunities than you do. All of these kind of negative thoughts, all of this kind of negative self-talk going around in your head can really kind of put you off when you actually need to be really focused and talking to yourself in a positive and optimistic way. So the first step to developing more helpful and functional self-talk is to identify any trends in what you currently say to yourself. So whether it's at training, whether it's when you're performing, whether it's at home, wherever. If you can identify anything that you say to yourself that's not particularly helpful, all right, then you've got a few options and a few strategies that we can put in place to try and deal with that and make it more functional. If it's things that you say to yourself away from training and away from performances, then you can maybe use a technique called countering, okay? As humans, we're kind of quick to jump on a negative explanation for what's going on, or we're quick to be overly self-critical. So for example, you might not be getting the opportunities that you want, and you might be thinking that's because the coach doesn't like you, okay? Countering involves looking at that explanation for what it is, a bit of a negative judgment, a bit of a snap decision, and trying to come up with, or trying to counter it with, another explanation for what you're going through and for what's going on, okay? So maybe the coach doesn't like you, but probably not all that realistic. So perhaps it's more that he wants to see a bit more from you, or she wants you to have a bit more game time before you can actually go out there and step up to the next squad or step up to the next opportunity. So we try and counter our original unrealistic explanation with a more realistic, more functional, perhaps more accurate one that's going to help us to get better and improve, rather than just drag us down and make us feel worse. If it's something that you're telling yourself in the lead up to a performance or in a big event, then maybe you can reframe that. If you've got a lot of people that are coming to watch you perform, for example, you might be telling yourself, that's a load of people that could see me fail, could embarrass myself quite a lot. If you can reframe that and look at the fact that you've got a lot of people coming to see you as a chance for you to show how hard you've been working, a chance for you to show how good you are, then you're immediately going to be thinking more functionally and more optimistically about that upcoming performance. So if you find that you're actually talking down to yourself when you're performing, you can use a technique called thought stopping. All right. So in most sports, your attention needs to be fully focused in the moment on what's going on around you in order to perform at your absolute best. And if you're talking negatively to yourself whilst you're trying to perform, you're going to be disrupting that focus, and you're not going to be performing as well as you might, and that might lead to more negative self-talk, and the cycle just goes over and over and over until you've had one of the worst days at the office ever. So you can use a thought stopping technique to try and block out those negative thoughts, get your attention back onto what it should be on. Thought stopping is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a really quick technique that you can use when you're actually performing, and as soon as you recognize that you're talking negatively to yourself, use a little cue to stop that in its tracks and focus back on the match or back on the event. Alright, so that could be a visual cue, like imagining a bright red stop sign. It could be a physical action like clapping your hands together, or even just flicking an elastic band on your wrist. Anything that's going to draw your attention to the fact that you're talking negatively and remind you to refocus back on your event. Alright guys, there you have it. Stay aware of your self-talk, and if you find that it's not helpful, it's not functional, then either counter it, reframe it, or just stop it altogether. Don't trash talk yourself into a poor performance. Alright, my updated website is linked in the description box below, so check it out if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers!